Hey everybody, it's MxRheyRhey, and today on Watercolor Wednesday, I am going to try to make my first custom palette. So this I got off of Amazon. Unfortunately, I don't like using Amazon, but when you're out here in the country, sometimes you don't have a choice in the matter. So this is a Meeden airtight watercolor case. It has this, gosh dang it, very form-fitting extra palette, and then it has this really big one right here, and it has 18 paint wells. I only needed the 18 because everything else seemed like way too big. I'm gonna try to get this music down just a tiny bit so you can hear me. So yeah, I just thought I would try to make a custom palette after the whole 10-day art challenge thing that I did, which I made a video on reviewing all of my pieces. I just thought if I have a little bit more sense of what I like to do, maybe I can start making a color palette that really reflects more of what I'm into. And I was trying to think of what that still was. I didn't know if I wanted a more cool muted palette or like a really bright sort of lighter colored palette, warmer. But I figured if it's 18 wells and I want to use this more often, I could have like a cool side and a warm side. That's definitely something I can do. And to do that, to get it started, I made an impulse purchase, which really solidified the idea of me getting my own custom palette of these 60 Arteza watercolors. There's a lot of colors to choose from, and I'm going to have to swatch them all because I realized, I think it was even with one, it was with one of these colors. It was, I think it's in the bottom, but it was like, where is it? It's in here in the reds. Spiced apple. This one, even on the camera, it looks like a really dark, very warm red, but when I opened the tube and took it out, it looked way more like this bubblegum pink, maybe even lighter like this peach. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to make a really big swatch sheet, and maybe not the white and black because I know what those are gonna look like, but like swatch all of these to get their true colors, and then I can get the colors that I want. I can pick the colors that I want out into this palette. Another little thing that I did was I was doing research because I have a schedule, so when I'm not doing watercolors like here in the studio, that's basically when I start doing the research for like what I'm going to do and other things. But I did the research on these, and even though the reviews that I were watching were like a couple years old and Arteza is always trying to like improve on their watercolors, I was told, and even I did like a little tiny swatch testing on one of my sketch pads or sketchbooks that I keep at home, that these colors, when dried onto a palette, really like to crack. And you know, when you re-wet them, then they don't like to stay in the well, so they'll like push off the wells and crack. But I found ways to remedy that. So I have some glycerin that I had offhand because I am a baker and candy maker. Technically, I still am technically a baker, even though I haven't really been a professional for it for a long time. And I have some honey. This is honey from my parents' own bees, so it's very, very dark. I don't want to use a lot of it because I don't want to ruin the color on a lot of these, since brown is not a color you do use to make green or purples or things like that. So I was watching videos on specifically how to get these paints to not crack in your wells, and the two remedies were glycerin and honey, one or the other. I'm gonna try both this time because I am picky, I guess. I'm gonna see what 1 drop of honey and 2 to 3 drops of glycerin mixed in with the colors that I choose will do. I'm just doing that because even though I haven't really seen what honey will do to them, a lot of the ones with the glycerin, will only the glycerin in them, they still weren't working. Some people were trying to do like wells with like this size 3 to 4 drops, and when they dried they were still kind of cracked. So let's get to, before we get to the really fun stuff, and then when we see the results I'll make a picture for you guys. But let's see what this true palette of the 60 Arteza watercolors can do. Also, another thing, I also bought these gel pens to go with the watercolors. They are also Arteza. They are the vintage set of these watercolors, or not watercolors, just a vintage set of gel pens. I really liked the colors, so I'm gonna try to see if I can't get a palette that will, if not true match, just complement these colors. I do not have them in order, and that's gonna bug me. Give me a second. Done. Okay. I did a swatch of these in my other sketchbook, like I showed you. Let me go get that for you. Okay, so this is my pretty much practice sketchbook. I have it upside down and backwards because I am left-handed, and you cannot convince me otherwise to be normal. That's for later. So this is the swatches of the gel pens. This is where I was practicing the Arteza watercolors at home to see how, like, a little, even just like this little drop, I had it right here. I had like a drop, and then I was gonna test the consistency and everything like that. I just left it to dry, and that even cracked. So it's not even like the amount in the wells would make it crack. It's just something that doesn't like to be dry thick. I mean, it's watercolor, so I understand that part, but still. And then when I re-wet it to see how it would do, it broke apart and made other little tiny wells around here. That's where like the darker or the more opaque yellows in here come about. So yeah, okay, so back to the topic at hand. I am ADHDing all over the place. The colors in the vintage gel set are Noir, Stone Gray, a Coffee Brown, Jungle Green, Evening Blue, Midnight Blue, Vintage Grape Purple, Rose, a Burnt Sienna, and a Ginger. I guess Burnt Sienna is a reddish brown, but this is not brown at all. So I technically, if this were my pen and I made it for other people to use, I would rename, that's the word, I would rename this color. But for now, it's Burnt Sienna, so I'm just gonna go with the flow. Okay, so I'm okay. I did not slide into my desk at all. That's not something I do on the regular. Okay, so I'm going to put these back, but I'm keeping them in mind for after I swatch everything. I just like things being tidy. It doesn't look tidy in there, but it's how they came. So I am going to do the swatching, and then I will be back and I will let you know about my color choosing process. Hey everyone, so this is the portion of the video where I'm talking over a sped up version of me swatching. I had to speed this up like so much because the actual swatching of all 60 colors literally took me like 2 hours. And I guess I'm gonna take this time while I am on the topic to tell you, if you kind of want to see the whole normal speed of me swatching, because I do talk throughout the whole thing. That's why I'm making those weird hand gestures and stopping every once in a while between the swatches. I will have the whole 1 and 15 minutes or so videos. I had to put them into 2 separate videos. I'll have them up on Twitch for you all to see. It should be up there now. If not now, then the day after this video is uploaded. But yeah, this is something I do on the regular for any swatching that I do with any colors. I basically keep the normal speed footage and I leave that as a little perk for me, well, not for me, but for anyone who decides to be a patron on my Patreon. It's basically just me, and you get to know me a little more as I ramble, and I have something to do while my mind wanders, so I just end up thinking and talking about life and what I've been thinking about lately. So I just thought that would be like, or right now would be like a nice little personal plug for me to let you guys in on some behind the scenes. If you guys want to check that out, there should be a link to my Twitch in the description below. But now I'm gonna stop talking and let you just guys see the whole rest of this swatching video in music silence. Musicked is not a word, but I'm just gonna stop talking now and let you guys enjoy all the pretty colors being swatched onto this giant piece of paper. Hi everybody, so I am back. I don't know how many times I'm going to tell you hello in this video, but it's been a while for me today. I just got done picking out my colors You can kind of tell from the little X on the corners. I can't remember. I feel like I was going in between the colors I would need versus the colors I liked, which I guess is what you do with any kind of palette, but I'm not sure if what I will like will be ones that I will use all the time. But I feel like the ones that I liked were, what do you call it? I feel like they were enough of like their own color that I could mix them with the others and would be fine. I was trying to avoid colors that had a lot of already mixed colors in them. So like this, these lighter browns I'm staying away from. Where was it? As much as I love this stone blue, I really couldn't figure out, maybe I will once I use it more often in other paintings, but for right now, I couldn't really figure out where I was going to use such like a grayish cold blue. So that one's gonna be out. I was going really in between light green and sap green. Like I was just like, oh, I could use them both, but why not? But like I figured by the end of it, when I made my decision, if you just had light green, but I added whatever kind of yellows I needed to make it warmer, that would work. And then I just like, I love Viridian as a green color. It's just this one to me seemed different than the Viridian that I'm used to. So I had to say no to the Viridian this time. But while I add the colors to here, I'm going to add my honey and glycerin in first and then put the paints in there, because these have been out all day and they don't at all get like, what do you call it? Come on. Okay, well that's gonna take a while for it to fill up in the pipe, but like these don't dry out at all when the paints do. So I figured if I had these in first before I put in the paints and then mix them, that wouldn't be so bad. This honey is almost so raw that it's just not even moved. Like there's some force in here trying to get the honey to move in, but it's so slow. This is why I don't use this honey for most of my teas, because it's so sickeningly sweet and just so slow that when I try to pour it in, I fall asleep, which is what I'm using the tea for anyway, so mission accomplished. But I would like to have the tea first. Almost there. Come on. Yeah, so what my plan was 1 drop each in each well of the honey, and then 2 to 3 drops of the glycerin. This one's a lot more thinned out as a syrup, as a sickeningly sweet syrup. So this one shouldn't go that bad, but this is the honey. It's taking forever. So let me just, how about while I'm waiting for this to fill up in its well, I get all of the colors that I need out. So, another adventure into the giant box of paint. Okay, so. Okay, so what I'm saying in this sped up version is pretty much all of the colors that I put in this palette, since you can't really read the chart that I put in there and the little X marks. But starting from the top right all the way going around to the top left, I have Noir, Raw Umber, Burnt Sienna, where is it? A Crimson Red, a Scarlet Red, the Spiced Apple, Saffron Orange, Yellow Pale, Lemon Yellow, Light Apricot, Deep Green, Light Green, Prussian Blue, Cerulean Blue, a Rose getting into the purplish tints, a violet, and then lastly a lilac. So the reason why I chose these colors specifically is because I wanted to have a kind of more bright palette of colors to work with. Looking at it after I was done, I realized, oh, this looks exactly almost like colors that Crayola would have chosen for me if you, like, you shell out and get like the big Crayola pack. But like, that's, I guess, I mean, all colors are pretty much the same. But the reason why I chose pretty much like 3 browns, and that's like the biggest color section in here besides like the yellow tints, is mostly because I also wanted a little versatility. I wanted to start working on like character paintings and everything, and to do that I need browns and lighter skin, like for the darker skin tones, because I want to, you know, paint what is accurate to my life. So that's why I have like 3 different browns instead of like a whole bunch of other like greens that I was trying to do, or blues, or even like the purples, because I love the color purple. But yeah, so I'm explaining all this in like the speed run that I'm doing right now, but this video has gotten so long while I'm editing it that like some things just had to be kind of cut, but I wanted to let you guys see the whole process of what was going on and like what this entails when you make your own custom palette. So I just thought I'd add this little tidbit in here to let you guys be aware. I'm gonna be talking in the camera now soon, so have fun with me doing that. Good morning, y'all. It's the next day. Sorry about my donut. Give me a second to eat like one more side of it. Okay, now, good morning, everyone. It is the next day. There is sun in my face from the window. It's actually not even like 8 o'clock yet. So it hasn't been 24 hours technically since I made the watercolor paints, but it's the next day. They've had kind of enough time to dry. We can at least get a rough idea of how they'll look like fully dry. Look at that. I went from tired to bubbly back to tired. So I haven't even looked at them yet. The dresser that I put them on to dry is like directly behind me, but I haven't seen them yet, just like overall colors. I don't have my glasses on. So let's take a look. Eyes still closed. Okay, some of them aren't bad. It was gonna be the yellows like I was kind of afraid of. Okay, yeah, it's hard to tell on the, okay, well, the darker ones, like they're crusted right here, browns, so the reds are right here. The only ones that are, oh, the purples are immaculate. Are they still, oh, they're still very wet. That's probably why. So these are, oh, nope, those are still wet too. Okay, so these are like still kind of moist. Huh, go figure. I can probably still work with them now, right now though. See, the ones I knew were probably gonna be the worst were the ones with the yellow in them. And green is a little bad right here. I don't know if you can see that. It's like in this corner right here. And the blue in this corner. I could just probably re-wet them, because it's obvious now that they're gonna stick to the tray. All of this cracking probably was just because that's what paints do when they dry into little serving wells. So I think actually it worked. The only ones that are still shiny, like I kind of was hoping they would be, was the rose into the purples. These are kind of matte or satin finish. This is wet, so that doesn't count. But I think that means this was a success. Really, the only cracking is from it trying to dry together. I could like try and push it down while it's still wet and see if it does anything else. But it's gonna stick. That was the important part. A lot of the times when I saw people trying to just put the Arteza watercolors in here by themselves and let them dry, they were bone dry, and they, as soon as you like turned it over, they would fall out of the wells. So I think this is still gonna work. It still has like, what is it, 8, so these still have about a whole workday worth to dry. I think I will wait until then to paint something, or maybe just like a couple more hours and maybe until like after lunch or something, to use these. But that's the progress update, I guess. It's another little progress update, because they're still very, okay, they're very like sticky. So I'll update you guys again when this is fully dry. So as a little update, while you guys are seeing me paint with this palette, now that it is the next day, and these are absolutely guaranteed to be what is fully dry, I thought I'd let you guys know that there's still like a tackiness that's dry. Each of the colors is fully dry. It's just there is a bit of a tackiness. I guess this would be almost like some of those, oh sorry, I'm looking at the palette and closing it up as I'm talking. There is a bit of like a semi-moist feeling to these, since I've added, what I'm going to presume is the honey to it. So I don't know exactly how you would, if you don't like this sort of moist sort of watercolors once they're dry, maybe don't add honey if you're planning on doing this. Maybe just stick with the glycerin. I'm going to say it was the honey because that is just the nature of honey to stay. I still have the excess honey that I used from the cup, that's in the cup, and yeah, no, honey doesn't cap itself unless you keep the beeswax in it. So it's just free forming bee and honey. So unless you have something to also add as a filler that would cap the skin of the watercolor to dry up, if you add honey to your watercolors, they are going to stay slightly tacky. It's not, I can touch some of the colors and they're fine. It's just there's a texture to it that makes it feel like it's not fully dry. But other than that, I would say that these colors, they are still cracked once they are fully dry, and not even like that much from what you guys are seeing in the video. But other than that, like, these colors are working. I think for me personally, adding the honey and the glycerin is what made these colors workable as a free-form custom palette. So if you guys want to try this out for yourself, maybe not get the 60 set if you're if you don't want like a whole bunch of colors to try and like choose from. But if you want to make an Arteza custom palette and make it work, I would very much suggest adding the honey and the glycerin to it. What was it? 1 drop of honey with 3 drops of glycerin, and I would say each of these wells is pretty much like a half palette, maybe just like a smidgen more, because this is my first palette, so I didn't really understand like how much paint to add to each well. But I would say now that they're dry, each of them is pretty much a half palette. But I feel like this test experiment with these this particular brand of paint was very much a success, and I loved sort of how this painting, well, I can't say sort of love, I do love how this painting came out. It was just sort of like, okay, well, these colors are very bright, and so I'll work with that. Like, let's make a little fantasy candy forest where, you know, you find a little candy witch that maybe she's out. I don't know who broke into her house. Maybe it was the 3 little bears from the other fairy tale. But it's just open. It's not threatening. It's more just like a little story illustration landscape than anything. So I'm gonna start talking again. Okay, everyone, so this is the end result. I was sort of trying to go for a like children's illustration theme with this one, so that's kind of why everything is purposely sort of blotchy and everywhere. This frosting shillings are still wet. All in all, when it comes to this new little palette I have made, oh wait, that's how you do it? It is. Okay, so new discovery. I was just like literally clicking them and then clicking them back out. I guess you can choose. When it comes to this palette that I made, there are some very bright colors in there, but that's sort of on purpose. I did not wait for them to fully dry because I was just getting so impatient. I did good. I waited like 2.5 to 3 more hours, and then they're pretty much gonna stay like this when it comes to their cracking. I did add water while I was doing that, so it should probably mellow out a little more. But overall, when it comes to like the bright colors and everything and what I can feel like I can do with this, I think this palette's gonna work out. Maybe not use it all the time, because I do kind of like having this sort of like childlike illustration with the gel pen outlines look. It's definitely very different from like the Seascape one that I was trying to base this on, and I don't necessarily know if I want to do like children's illustration sort of style. This is kind of exactly what I was going for. Oh, well, okay, almost. I won't say it's perfectly what I had in mind, but when is everything that's in your head coming out into reality perfect? But it's gosh darn close. I think I really like the colorful outlines rather than just like a black outline. It's especially when it's not like the perfect shade, but it's close, that you get kind of like an idea, and the colors with the pens work with these because they still sort of stay coherent, but they're just slightly more cool. They're more of a like the cool tone of these pens goes really well with like the bright warmness of like this palette that I made. So I think it'll go I think this combination of things will go really well. So I'm really excited to see what else I can make with these in the future. That is the video for today. If you made it all the way through, because I know this video is going to be a bit of a whopper, congratulations, thank you so much. If you liked the end result, I know in the middle of it was getting kind of like iffish, but if you like the end result, let me know down in the comments. If you have any sort of more tips for anyone else on how to get sort of Artezas to dry without cracking, let anyone else in the comments know. Subscribe if you think you like this kind of content, especially if this isn't maybe the first video you've seen of me. I'd be really excited to have you here. But that is it. I look forward to doing more paintings with these, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a wonderful October.